a small but significant cohort of Gen Z women have taken an unexpected interest in religious life. The life of joining a convent, becoming a nun, living with other nuns. And it's been reported on by the New York Post. Forget hot girl summer. Gen Z women are flocking to convents with nuns. Vow of silence summer is in. And they cite this TikToker who reported back on her experience taking one of these silent retreats at a Catholic monastery with nuns for the summer. She wanted to go back, and they said, sorry, you're going to have to get on the wait list because there are so many people signing up to live with nuns for their summer instead of going out and drinking or swiping on dating apps. They want to opt for religious convent life. So let's just watch this TikTok and hear her out.
Here we go.
How bad things are? Don't worry, I'll tell you how bad things are. I booked a vow of silence at a Catholic monastery late last year, and the booking process is really straightforward. You just email the nuns and they give you some dates, but overall, they're really flexible. And I had a great time when I went. It was a lot of fun. I went to go book a reservation again at the monastery for the summer, and I just got an email from one of the nuns saying, yeah, we're actually fully booked for the next 3 months for people that want to take a vow of silence upstate at a monastery in the summer. We're fully booked. And then she told me that she could put me on notify in case someone else cancels their vow of silence. So if you have a vow of silence booked and want to cancel, please let me know. Maybe we can start a Resi app for vows of silence.
So it's not good enough to just shut the hell up?
No, you kind of have to dedicate a space and time for it. There are extremely revealing comments. One said, I feel that the nuns have been expecting us. They knew our last nerve would disappear at some point. It's dire out here. The girlies are fed up, and this is proof. Another one said, I suddenly understand why every woman who lived under the Catholic Church became a nun after I left the Catholic Church. And another one said, the call to be a nun is too strong right now. It felt so hard during the pandemic, TBH. Glad I'm not the only one feeling this way. Just tons of Gen Z women who, for the most part, probably don't even affiliate themselves with a religion if they were to be surveyed about it. But for some reason, feel this inexplicable draw toward becoming religious nuns in the Catholic Church.
Is this
and this is just a way that you can try it on for size. Like if you book a retreat at a monastery, you get to spend time with them and kind of just live their lifestyle for maybe a couple of weeks. And they often do this for discernment retreats for women who actually are interested in becoming nuns, so they can try it out.
We live in a country that talks about how nobody ever gets any time off and their job doesn't ever give them vacation. They're always expected to go to work, no maternity leave. Yet somehow women are just abandoning their jobs for vows of silence field trips.
I suppose so. I think that what this shows is how overstimulated we are with media and noise constantly.
Yeah.
And the expectation that you be reachable constantly. And I think that monks and nuns are some of the very, very few people in modern digital society that are exempt from that rule. And they are, for the most part, required to give up those things with very few exceptions, like if they need it to travel or run a business or something. But even then, they do things the old-fashioned way. They have to travel in a taxi that you actually call down on the street instead of having the Uber app. And it sounds like it would make life more difficult, but for the most part, they'll tell you it's a way more peaceful way to live externally and interiorly. And this reminded me of a take that I shared several months ago on Twitter, and it got an incredible amount of backlash, and I wasn't even expecting it. I wasn't expecting people to even notice. But I said young women are statistically becoming deeply unhappy, and I have a theory as to why. If we lived in a sane society, many of them would become nuns. No one ever suggested this to them, so they haven't considered it as an option. I've met a lot of young women who aren't very interested in dating, having kids, or climbing the corporate ladder. They find secular world equally confusing and boring. They're contemplative, quiet, and caring, and I have a hunch they would be happier living in a religious convent. And I also guessed that a lot of those same women are attracted to the world of academia, which ends up radicalizing them, driving them insane. But it's only because universities present themselves as these insular communities dedicated to contemplation and, you know, it's a routine of life.
And the ultimate goal is tenure.
Yeah. And it's not just working in academia, but just also entering the world of academia as a student and then going back for your master's degree. But that tends to capture their minds and drive them crazy. I think that those women are too many to count. It's not the majority, but it's definitely been a thought that's crossed my mind interacting with women here and there in real life. I just end up in conversations with people at like a wedding or something. There was this one girl I met like at a wedding earlier this year who, I mean, everything she said to me for some reason rang like, oh my gosh, like you should become a nun. Like she's a school teacher.
Did you tell her that?
No, I did not tell her that because I didn't want to seem presumptuous, but she was a school teacher of all these young kids, but she said that she wasn't really looking at getting married or having kids herself anytime soon. And she also felt very overwhelmed by the expectations of her career and needing to move up and be self-sufficient. And I was like, okay, there's a lot wrong with society. I don't think there's a lot wrong with you as a person. I think you should probably like consider this as a possibility. And that's, again, not the majority of people or the majority of women.
Yeah.
But there are all these women who in a religious society actually would have been encouraged toward that path, and it doesn't even cross their minds now.
Well, yeah, I feel like unless you grew up in a household where some religion was even taught, like you're just never gonna. It's like, how do I even get involved in that?
Even in most like Catholic households, I'm guessing this would never even come up, and like a lot of women who become nuns these days are probably discouraged from doing so by their family members.
It becomes a joke in a TV show where like a mom or a dad, when their daughter reaches like the age of 16, they say they're going to send her to the nunnery.
As if it's like the last resort or something.
To keep her from acting out.
It's sort of like what we were talking about earlier with Gen Z going into marriage with way more discernment and mental preparation because they're less likely to get married in the first place. I don't think that any young person these days is going to opt to become a priest or become a nun just because it's something that society has told them to do. They're only going to do that if they're extremely convicted in the decision.
I don't feel like society's telling a lot of people to go into the seminary or at all.
The opposite. The very opposite. So it actually is like a sign of hope.
Society is telling people to stay home and masturbate on drugs.
Yeah.
A school, like a teenager start making TikTok skits, like going to his guidance counselor, like, I really want to join the seminary. Like, how would I get into that?
The backlash that I got to this was kind of crazy from also like other Christians and some other Catholics, but I also noticed there were a lot of women who didn't follow me responding and saying that this resonated with them. One of them said 1,000 years ago, I would have been a nun and loved it. Another one said, I have loosely considered this. I'd probably have loved convent life if it weren't for the religious aspect.
I mean, I feel like
there were
most
atheists
of this,
saying they wanted to become nuns as long as they didn't tell anyone.
I feel like most of this is just people who feel overwhelmed by technology, looking for a quieter world.
Yes. Another one said, as far as I remember, this is the first time someone has mentioned something that's played a central role in my life. If I could, I would have become a nun at a young age, and what you say is spot on. And even Grimes, of all people, responded to me saying that she is long considered being a nun and that she thinks I'm dead on with my take. Grimes, of all people. I did not expect that one. But yeah, I got a lot of backlash from people who were basically saying it's a zero-sum game. You either win by getting married or you lose by not getting married. And that's a very reductive view. I think that nuns are the closest thing we have to damn near Disney princesses in society. Every nun that I've met is an extremely joyful person, and it literally exudes from them. In fact, last week, or over the weekend, when I was at church, I was flagged down by a Gen Z nun who was standing at the entrance of the church, and she was handing out flyers to women who appeared to be between 20 and 30, saying, like, you should come to this retreat about discernment toward religious life. And she was like, seeing the look on my face, and she was like, you don't have to be like jumping for joy at the idea of becoming a nun or anything, but you should at least know what this entails in order to make an informed decision. And I was like, you know what, maybe I will.
Well, then I have to ask the question, would you ever consider it?
No. I don't think that I'm one of those women that I'm describing. Like, I don't relate to them. I just know that I've met many of them, especially in Catholic circles. I've met many women who express basically zero interest in dating and marriage and having kids, but they also are like beyond the, like, they're nowhere near being interested in dedicating themselves to a career either. They find both of those things equally uninteresting, and they're not uninteresting people. Like, I don't think that those women are boring or there's something wrong with them or defective about them. I think there's a lot more defective about the culture that surrounds them.
No, I imagine that their explanations for why they chose such a unique way of life would actually be really fascinating.
Yeah.
And very introspective.
That's actually why I'm planning to go to that retreat, because I want to ask, like, these Gen Z nuns, they actually are Gen Z nuns, why did you make this decision? And I don't think people are really open to hearing that. It's like controversial for some reason.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.